Turning to the US now, and the House Select Committee investigating last year's deadly Capitol insurrection resumed a short while ago. The panel will examine the role of far-right extremist groups played in fomenting the riot. The session will focus on the connections between the former President Donald Trump, his allies and violent US groups such as the Proud Boys, who stormed the US Capitol in an attempt to stop the certification of Joe Biden's Electoral College victory in the 2020 election. And those, in fact, are live pictures from the Congress hearings. And for more on this, we can cross live to Washington and join Arise US correspondent Eric Ham, who's at the hearings for us. Eric, the hearings have just got underway. Tell us, what can we expect from the next few hours?
Yeah, that's right, Anno. Right now, this is the 7th hearing that we're seeing underway right now. And this hearing is going to focus on the extremist groups that were actually part of that insurrection that took place. And what we're going to see today is, for the first time, the committee will attempt to link former President Donald Trump with these insurrectionist groups, including the Oath Keepers as well as the Proud Boys. Now, what is interesting about this, already we know that there are 17 Proud Boys that have actually been charged with seditious treason. 3 have actually pled guilty. In addition to that, we know that there are several Oath Keepers who also have been charged as well, including the founder of the organization. We're going to hear today from one of the Proud Boys as well as one individual who has also pled guilty to seditious treason, and they will be testifying today before the committee. In addition to that, we also are going to hear from 2 members today. Normally we hear from one member who will lead the Q&A with the members that are testifying. Today we will hear from Stephanie Murphy of Florida as well as Jamie Raskin of Maryland. Now, Jamie Raskin is an individual who also served as an impeachment manager during President Trump's first impeachment trial. And so today it's expected again to be another day of explosive testimony. We have already heard from the co-chair, Liz Cheney, Republican from Wyoming, who has stated that while they have interviewed the former White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, of former President Donald Trump, we are not going to hear his testimony today. In fact, she made clear that they will actually be showcasing his testimony at an upcoming hearing, which was originally scheduled to take place this coming Thursday. That hearing has now been pushed to next week.
And Eric, I understand of particular interest to the committee is a White House meeting from December the 18th involving the president and, among others, senior lawyers like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, and then a subsequent tweet not long after that meeting from the president. What more can you tell us about that?
That's absolutely right. In fact, what we're seeing today is, for the first time, the committee is now going to actually try to make an effort to tie Donald Trump to these groups to show that he was actually aware of the potential for violence and that this is exactly what he wanted. And these groups, these insurrectionists, were actually acting on his orders. And so what they're going to do is talk about this meeting that took place that included both White House officials as well as outside officials for the president, and then also tie how that tweet that the president sent out, showcasing that the president both had the clarity and the frame of mind to know and understand what exactly he wanted and what exactly was going to take place on January 6th.
And the former Trump strategist, Steve Bannon, is someone who the panel have been waiting for so many months to speak to. It appears he's now ready to talk. We know he's not talking today, but what could any future testimony from him mean for the investigation and, crucially, for Donald Trump?
Yeah, that's a really good point. In fact, we know that the trial for the former senior advisor is scheduled to take place next week. Remember, the committee wanted to talk to him early in their investigation. He refused. They filed a contempt of Congress charge against him, and now he's going to trial on that charge. He attempted to try to delay the trial next week, but the judge threw that out, and so he's going to court. In addition to that, prior to going to court yesterday to try to get this delay, his attorneys actually signaled that he would be willing to provide public testimony to the committee. In fact, today we heard from the co-chair, Republican Liz Cheney, who stated that since these hearings have gotten underway, there has been a complete change in people in the Trump orbit. where she said that initially the plan was to deny and deflect. She said now there is a level of cooperation that is taking place, which suggests that the hearings are not only hitting the mark, but they're actually changing and shaping the narrative, and now they're recognizing that people are becoming increasingly more cooperative. So will we hear from Steve Bannon? Only time will tell, but what we do know is that right now there are parallel tracks that are taking place. Of course, his trial will take place next week. We should expect the grand finale from the committee, which should take place in prime time next week. In addition to that, we know, of course, a close confidant of the former president, Senator Lindsey Graham, has also been scheduled to testify in a criminal proceeding that looked at what happened with electors in Georgia. So all of this now is getting closer and closer to the president as these hearings begin to wrap up. And what we're seeing now, from the first moment that the trials began, about 45%, less than the majority of Americans, believe that the former president was actually directly tied or had some involvement in the January 6th hearings, in the January 6th insurrection. That number has now skyrocketed, where now a majority of the American people actually believe that the former president Donald Trump did have something to do with January 6th. In fact, already we know today, even before this hearing got underway, the president was tweeting about these hearings as well.
And Eric, we have the upcoming midterms in November. How will this play out? Obviously, there's other pressing issues like inflation, the war in Ukraine. How will these hearings have an impact on the midterm elections?
Well, it's hard to tell at this time. The midterm elections are still months away, and right now, what now is taking place is these hearings. The biggest question now is, will this committee, at the conclusion of these hearings, when they release their report, will they actually refer a criminal charge against the president? That is something that we do not know. We do know that initially the chairman of the committee, Benny Thompson, said that was not the goal or the objective of the committee. Some members of the committee actually balked at that, and so that is something that, of course, we will be watching to wait to see what happens. Could that have an impact on the elections? Obviously, it certainly can, but right now, it's only time will tell.
Okay, Eric Ham reporting for us from the Congressional Committee investigating that Jan 6 attack. Will, of course, be keeping abreast on today's hearings. But for the moment, thank you.